Well, hello, folks, and thank you for joining us today. We are looking at a 1939 Plymouth sedan, a replica of the car that the Presley family would drive, leaving Tupelo, Mississippi, where we are today, to go to Memphis, and of course, the rest was history. Elvis Presley was born here in January of 1935. He would have been 90 years old this year on January the 8th. Shoot me instead. There are people coming here to Tupelo from all over the world every single week. A lot of tour buses come from Graceland itself. This is part of a Graceland bus tour that you can take from Memphis. Really cool place. We're here on Halloween, so we come at a day that it's not just too crowded, but it's been neat to talk to a lot of fans of Elvis. My mother was a big fan of Elvis. I think everybody in the South, for the most part, is a fan of Elvis. I grew up long after Elvis's music, but still enjoy a lot of it. Now, there are lots of areas that you can just walk around here on the Birthplace grounds free of charge, but we're going to go into the museum here first and get our tickets to see both the museum and Elvis's birth home. Now, the museum itself is off limits to filming. That makes complete sense to me. It's not a very large museum. And if you give that away through video, what's the purpose of coming and getting a ticket for it? But there's also a gift shop and several other artifacts that we can video.
That come here from all over the world. It's insane, actually. Today, just this morning, we had somebody from Israel.
Wow.
I mean, and they were speaking Hebrew to each other.
You know, even for like me and my wife, he died 3 years before I was born, but yet.
Were y'all born in 79, 80?
I was born in 80, and my wife 82.
Yeah, so I was 79. So, but yeah, I felt like,
Yeah. Of course, my mother absolutely loves him.
Yes,
Graceland,
I
all
know.
that. Yeah.
Too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, I had expected something much smaller, but I have been very impressed with everything that's available here at the Birthplace. It's, a very large gift shop here. The museum itself, although not very big, was chocked full of Elvis merchandise, signed scarves, suits that he wore, shirts, lots of memorabilia, as you would expect from the early days in Tupelo, that had been donated by fans. One had been donated by what had been a fan, then became a close personal friend. A lot of her merchandise donated, and it just made for a really cool museum. Highly recommended if you get a chance to come by. Then, of course, we moved in here to the gift shop where you can get just about everything Elvis you could possibly want. You may think that Elvis's popularity has waned, but it is still generating around $100 million a year through licensing. Graceland alone generates $10 million. We come into the hall here, and we're going to get to see some artifacts that they do have on display that we can film out here. Lots of memorabilia around times that Elvis came back to visit Tupelo. He visited on several occasions. Lots of items that were in the museum and that are also out here in these display cases came from the collection of Jeanne McComb. Now, she was a Tupelo resident, but also a close family friend of the Presleys. Then a lot of these other items, this gun, for instance, also donated by a friend of the family with the provenance to back that up. Elvis's first radio broadcast was at 10 years old here in Tupelo at the old fairgrounds. 1946, Elvis and his mother Gladys went into a Tupelo hardware store. Elvis wanted a .22 rifle, but Gladys persuaded him to get a guitar. Now, this is not that guitar, but in the museum, they have what they feel is pretty much the exact same model. Elvis would often be seen around town with his guitar, and in 1948, when he and his family would leave for Memphis, Elvis, at the age of 13, would sing a farewell song to his class with that very same hardware store guitar. Now we get to see really cool Elvis memorabilia from throughout the years, Elvis-themed guitars that were sold, the movie poster to Love Me Tender. We've got Elvis bracelets, Elvis board games. As you might expect over the years, there have been quite a few licensed Elvis items, and not just what's been out in, say, the last 15, 20 years. Elvis has been a moneymaker for a long, long time. The museum itself started in 1992, and it was mainly with the collection of Miss McComb. They had a remodel in 2006, and it gives you the really awesome complex that you see today. So much memorabilia, and this is something I have never seen. In this next case, an Elvis doll. Who needs an Urkel doll when you can have an Elvis doll? They even have a movie theater here in the museum that is playing a movie about the early life of Elvis here in Tupelo. And I think it's playing at 3 times a day, if I remember correctly. A also small bust here of Elvis.
They even have Elvis playing in the bathroom.
Yep, in the men's bathroom as well. Now this is the Elvis Presley Fountain of Life. It has 13 upper spouts that represent the 13 years in Tupelo, 29 lower representing his time in Memphis. Now, as we see further up on the hill, you see the Elvis Presley Memorial Chapel. It was dedicated in 1979. Elvis's Bible is there in the pulpit, and the pulpit is from the Assemblies of God Church, where he originally started singing. Now, the museum staff, who are excellent, by the way, let me know that this was one of the most photographed places here, one of the most popular Elvis at 13 statue. Now, this was an idea for this statue from a fan in Ireland who had visited the birth site. This was unveiled in 2002. It sits here at ground level. There's another Elvis statue that we'll see later that you ascend to. But this one is at ground level because of Elvis's deep connection with people on a personal level. Now, in addition to the historic markers about Elvis's role in the community, his influence from the blues, the Elvis Presley fan club is also across the street, which I thought was really cool. And there's also markers for every single year of Elvis's life. Now, when I first saw it, I thought it was just the first 13 because of his time here in Tupelo, but there's one for every single year, which I thought was very neat. Different from the Memorial Chapel, this is the actual church that the Presley family attended. This Assembly of God church, pastored by Brother Frank Smith, played a pivotal role in Elvis's musical upbringing. Brother Frank taught him several different chords, also taught him the first song that he would sing on the radio, Old Shep. And if you need to use the outhouse, well, they're probably going to frown on that here, but, here's an example of one. There are modern restrooms in the museum. Feel free. And now we are coming over to the birthplace itself. You're probably shocked at how small it is. It is tiny, a little 2-room home that we'll go into in just a minute. And here, as I was talking about the references to each year of Elvis's life, and there are additional plaques nearby denoting special items that happened in those years, including years that Elvis's father was in prison. A lot of people have asked me, was I named Aaron after Elvis Aaron Presley? Because a lot of Aarons in the South were. I was actually named Aaron after Aaron Spelling, of all people. And of course, this is the most important piece of the Elvis birthplace site, his birth home. It was actually in his life for a very short period of time. The family would unfortunately lose the home. After getting a loan to purchase it, they would lose it. And years later, Elvis would proudly get it back, and we'll hear more about that as we start the tour. We had just missed one when we came out, but that gave us an opportunity to go around the grounds quite a bit. And another tour is just about to start up.
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
Doing good.
Awesome.
Here you go.
Thank you.
So the house was built in 1934 by Elvis's father Vernon, his brother Vester, and their father Jessie. He built the house for $180 that he borrowed from his boss to buy the supplies. Elvis was born here in 1935 along with his twin brother Jesse, who was stillborn. They lived here for the first 3 years of Elvis's life, and during the time they lived here, Vernon did go to prison for altering a check. He spent 9 months in prison, and while he was in prison, Gladys wasn't able to keep the payments up on the house, and so they did lose the house and have to move out. Gladys and Elvis moved out and lived with her aunt until after Vernon's release from prison. And then once he was released from prison and was able to find work again, they rented the rest of the time they lived in Tupelo until Elvis was 13, and that's when they moved to Memphis. So the things that are still original in the house are the floors, they're hardwood. The fireplace is original, it burns coal. And also in the kitchen is the original cast iron stove, as well as the ice box in the kitchen. The ice box they did take with them when they moved to Memphis, but after Elvis passed away, Vernon actually brought it back from Graceland and donated it back to the birthplace. Did the concert at Fair Park, and when he did the concert, instead of being paid for the concert, he asked the city to purchase the house back. And so they bought the house and about 15 acres of land that was available for purchase around the house, and that was the trade-off. And so he ultimately just donated it to the city, and the city owned it for a while, and then they converted it into a nonprofit. And so we're a nonprofit, and we're locally owned and operated by Elvis Presley Memorial Foundation.
That's awesome.
Yep.
This reminds me a lot of our house in Linville, Lori.
Don't remind me.
It was over 100 years old, and it was put together by a foreman. It had once been a huge farm operation, over 1,000 acres, and the foreman had just built it with whatever parts he came across, and it very similar. As you can see, just the 2 rooms, but everything that this young family needed been restored back to what it looked like. And of course, it's really neat to have some of the actual objects that are here that the family had. Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that well.
Yeah, you know, everybody, when we come across there, of course, everybody has a story about it, and they knew it was going to be a business district, was everything was going. And Ricky's on Coleman just opened up a few weeks ago, after 20 years of being up. Yeah.
Well, I know we have people that live here that relocated here after Katrina.
So that was absolutely a lot of fun. She was so insightful, had so much information about Elvis Presley, and as you could hear, I like to talk. So I talked her head off a little bit. But thankfully, unlike Woo, we were not holding up anybody in line. It was just us. Priscilla Presley said if Elvis were alive today to see what this Birthplace site looks like, that he would be overwhelmed and grateful. The mission statement of the organization, the nonprofit that operates this site, is to get people to dare to dream, to be inspired by the life's work of Elvis, his upbringing here in Tupelo, going up to the highest heights of superstardom, and that it's possible. Obviously, you have to have the talent, you have to have some luck, some breaks go your way, but it is possible, and you can achieve your dream. Usually a favorite of every visitor to Elvis's birthplace is the reflections area here. A natural, serene site, a place to get away from it all, to meditate, to reflect. It is said that as a boy that Elvis and friends would run all over the 15 acres that make up this complex. And no doubt, probably one of those days of running around, at the end of the day, Elvis would pull out his guitar and sing a song for his friends, probably somewhere right around here. And now we come to the overlook and the final two statues dedicated to Elvis here. Elvis the boy and Elvis the superstar entertainer. And if you notice, they share the same base. Even though Elvis achieved stardom unlike most people could ever dream of, he still maintained those home-style roots that were born right here in Tupelo. Thanks so much for joining us here, folks. We had a great time at Elvis's birthplace. A really cool site spread out over 15 acres. So much to do. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it if you get a chance to come through this way. Hope you have a great rest of the day. You've been passing through, and me and Lori greatly appreciate it.